The No Fate channel, checking in. And on this episode of Dad's Old House, I am discussing how much a new roof costs to replace. This house was built in 1983, the same year as my wife. And unfortunately, a lot of stuff has been in need of repair. And this series is simply dedicated to those repairs, whether I do them myself or I am smart and pay a contractor to get it done. So if this is your first time to the channel, give this video a like and hit that red subscribe button. Hopefully this information will prove useful to you, whether you plan to do the work yourself or you plan to get a few bids and decide to have a professional do it. So backstory is that the house is old. We've been in the house for 12 years and a lot of repairs are in need to be done. If you've watched my previous old house video, you saw that I had my contractor remove the railing and the top of my back deck and replace the whole thing with Trex wood. So we've got a number of contractual things to go, the windows, the siding, and we decided to do the roof, which is the topic of today's video. Before I get started, I want to know from you, comment below the age of your roof and the age of the shingles. I'm always curious how long people are getting out of the life of their shingles. This house was built in 83, but at some point, at least 21 years ago, they added on a breezeway and a garage. And at that time, they added, of course, new shingles to those sections. I'm just not certain if they added new shingles to the primary home. So the shingles were at least 21 years old. And even though there were no signs of visible damage or wear and tear, it is a New England roof and it gets pretty cold winters and pretty harsh summers. We are going to be doing the windows and the siding. And the contractor said if we were on the fence of doing the roof, we wanted to get that done. His mind was to do a top down in terms of repairs because it just made things easier and it prevented a lot of rework with regards to how that goes about with a lot of downward force when you're hammering in those shingles. When it comes to big projects for my home, I like to get a few bids, a few offers. Honestly, I try to get 3, sometimes even 5 bids on a large project. I will say I find that to be the best way to make sure that you're not getting taken for a ride and to make sure you get all the information, because a lot of times when they come to give you bids, some contractors will have different perspectives on how to do even the same project. I didn't get any bids for this roof. The contractor that I had chosen to do my deck did a great job. I mean, above and beyond my expectations, and the price was right. So when he gave me a bid for the roof, boom, I just went with it because I trusted him. And at the end of the day, you don't always want to take the lowest offer. You want to take someone that you know is going to show up when they say they are going to show up, and they're not going to be hard to find if you have an issue down the road. So let's just get into what I paid and then go over and dissect what I actually got for that money. At the end of the day, I paid $13,700 to have my roof re-shingled. That does not include the permit that was pulled for this job, which was like another $174. So what did they actually do for that $13,700? Well, I want to kind of put it into perspective because, of course, that number doesn't mean anything if you don't know the size of the home. The home living area is 1,974 square feet, and that also includes a breezeway and a garage that they all had to roof. I do not have the actual perimeter measurement for the home. That is typically how they calculate the amount of shingles that they're going to need, is that they will actually take a perimeter measurement and they're able to calculate the square footage that they're going to need for shingles, and that's generally how they generate that cost. So for $13,700, they were going to remove the shingles on the main house, the breezeway, and the garage. They were going to install 6 feet of ice and water shield. Oftentimes, with a lot of contractors, they'll only do 3 feet, but the pitch of my roof is not very steep, and that would create some issues with regards to runoff. It's kind of a passive pitch, so they went 6 feet instead of 3. For the remainder of the roof, beyond that 6 feet, they used 15-pound paper. They also were going to install GAF Timberline shingles, and I'm going to get into the shingles in a second, but that's the type of shingles they were going to install. That also involved all of the takeaway, the dumpster rental, and the insurance and all that other stuff that goes with it. They did do it all in one complete day. It was a long day. They showed up at like 6:30 and they stayed until like 5:30 or 6. So it was honestly a 12-hour day, a full crew, and they went to work the second they got here, and I don't think they stopped for a moment. As far as the cap of the roof, they did install a ridge vent. It was what was there before, and that is, I think, one of the best ways to top off the roof, and they just reinstalled it. So let's talk about shingles. I'll tell you, when I started looking into this, I thought that they were just the old style shingles of black shingle, and it just had a different warranty. Typically, like in the olden days, they'd have like 15, 20, 30-year shingles, and unfortunately, times have changed. We went with Timberline HDZ high definition lifetime shingles, and I didn't realize how many colors there were. I mean, they've got colors. You can even get like a red roof if you want. We were looking for something a little bit more basic, knowing that we're going to be doing the siding in like a deep green. We wanted something close to black, but not exactly black. We ended up going with a charcoal color, but I will say he did tell me, the contractor said, if you go dark or black, you're going to get better snow removal from your roof. And if you go lighter or, almost white like this, you're basically going to have less heat, or a little bit less heat, in the summertime. So they do have the trade-offs depending on the color that you went with. As far as shingle options, I'll tell you, my contractor that I go with tends to have only one or two companies that he works with. The reason being, he's done it for so long, he knows what works, what's a good price point, and we didn't bother to look down the road of how many different types of shingles there were. We knew this one had a lifetime warranty as long as we lived in the home. I don't know necessarily how you claim that warranty. I never even heard of someone kind of going back to the shingle company, but we felt these were going to be ideal shingles for the lifespan of this home for us, and that was at the right price point for us as well. Clearly, there's way more shingle options out there, and I'm not even claiming that these Timberline HDZ shingles are the best. I'm just saying they looked good, they went on, and the price point couldn't be beat, at least in our opinion, based on what we thought the project was going to cost. So one thing to note with regards to the price point, and hopefully this is something that you are aware of going in, is that there was a caveat on the contract that I signed, and that is if there were any bad planks of plywood that had to be removed and replaced, I was going to be on the hook for that price point. Obviously, when you remove the shingles, you don't know what's actually going to be out there underneath there unless you already have a pre-existing leak. So at the point where I was at, I didn't think any of the actual plywood was going to be bad, because in my attic everything looks pretty good for the most part. So I was happy and pleasantly surprised that there were no bad planks of plywood. Had there been planks that needed to be replaced, I would have been charged $70 per plank, because that was the cost to the contractor to pick up that plywood, because in the time that they did this project, wood is not cheap. So that's something that you need to be aware of if you have leaks in your roof, or if you have an especially old roof, that you might have an additional tacked on cost. Did they do a great job? Absolutely. The only issue that I found with the project themselves is the cleanup. So they did a really good job cleaning up. They worked very, very hard, but I was finding nails in the yard for quite some time afterwards. This is to be expected. They did circle the yard multiple times with the magnet to pick up any lost nails, but they're still gonna not find them all, especially in your driveway. So that's something you want to be aware of. Post-work, you want to make sure that you get into your driveway and blow everything out, or clean up as much of this debris that they may have missed as possible. The other thing that they missed, that they promised to get, and I think it was just an oversight, they promised me that they were going to clean out my gutters. I was hoping to actually save a trip up to the roof, since they were going to be on it anyway. They promised to clean out the gutters, and during the next big rainstorm, water was just coming right over the gutters. So I knew that the gutters themselves were clogged. I went up there, sure enough, they hadn't cleaned them at all. There was nails in the gutters, there was old shingles. I even found a box of staples in the gutters. Not a major oversight, but it's something worth mentioning, just so you know, to make sure that they clean the gutters before they leave, so you don't have that type of issue. Overall, it didn't cause any damage or any issues. It just made me a little bit extra work, because I had to go up and clean them myself. As you would expect with brand new shingles, yeah, they do look very nice. When I'm a weirdo and I go to the front of my yard and look up and look at the front of my house, they do make the house pop a little bit more. I didn't expect them to look as nice because they're on top. I didn't expect you to be able to see them as much, but they definitely tie in the home a lot better than the previous shingles, which were a little bit long in the tooth. How long have you had your roof and your shingles for? I'm hoping to get a lifetime out of these GAF Timberline HDZ Lifetime shingles, but who knows? I happen to think I'm very happy with the work. I think they did a great job. I'm glad I got the roof done before I do the rest of the home, because now it is done. We can just set it and forget it and don't have to worry about it. I happen to think $13,700 plus the cost of the actual permit was a good price compared to, again, my expectations and with regards to what the cost of the industry products were in 2020, at the end of 2020, and now in 2021. Everything is expensive, whether it's wood or any other type of construction materials. They're just increasing the prices. So again, $13,700 is a big chunk and change, but it was worth it for me, and the work was done as promised. Hopefully you found this informative. Any questions, drop them in the comments below. I'll do my best to get them answered, as I always do. Future videos on this series are going to involve windows, they're going to involve siding, and a whole lot more. So if you're interested in this dad's old house, do me a favor, give this video a like, hit that red subscribe button. As usual, thank you for watching, and don't save anything for the trip back. This channel is dedicated to my life as a father of 2 wonderful children, and it centers around health, fitness, and all of the tricks and tribulations that I go through to try to be a great parent to my children and still accomplish my own personal goals.